Welcome to this video for Campaign School. My name is Dominique O'Rourke. I am currently a Ward 6 City Councillor, first-time councillor, and I have the honor and privilege of interviewing Jolly Bedi, who is a school board trustee for Upper Grand District School Board. So before I introduce Jolly, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that we are meeting on the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation of the Anishinaabe people, on whose traditional territory we are meeting today. So we want a traditional land acknowledgement, because that knowledge and that heritage and those treaty promises should inform the work that we do and the conversations that we're having. So welcome, Jolly.
Thank you so much, Dominique.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I just want to introduce you a little bit for the people who have not had the privilege of meeting you. So Jolly is a small business owner, a lifelong learner, a co-founder of Royal City Financial, an experienced financial advisor who every time I meet up with her is working on a new designation, learning new things. So she's a real inspiration as a lifelong learner. She's the mother of two very smart young women who are following in her footsteps. Before coming to Canada in 1995, she was studying economics. She studied HR when she arrived in Canada. She's also one of the co-founders of the Guelph Punjabi Cultural Group, and they've raised a lot of funds for local organizations like the hospital. And so an all-round accomplished woman in our community. And the reason we're speaking to her today is she has done even more than that. So in 2018, Jolly Bedi became the first person of color elected to the Upper Grand District School Board. And that's the first person of color in the history of the board. So not only did she win the 8-person race, she beat an incumbent, which is extremely difficult to do, the incumbent having been a former chair, and she won by 125 votes. So you want to hear from Jolly what she put into the campaign, what her advice is, and why it's so important. So Jolly, my friend, thank you so much for joining us. Let's just start at the very beginning. What prompted you to run as a school board trustee?
Thank you so much, Dominic. Listening, such a great welcoming bio speech. I am amazed. I don't think I have accomplished anything near to what you have, you've put me on a pedestal. I am just a small Guelphite, a Canadian citizen, a new immigrant who is just trying to make this place my home. And this is just in the journey that I had come across in 2018, municipal elections. And these elections were important to me because this was the time when I realized my kids had already I'm a mom of 2, as you said, both girls have been through the schooling system here. And throughout the schooling system, when I was going along with them, because I didn't do my schooling here, it was very new to me. Every time when there is a question, concern, I had to go look for resources. And I found that along the way, many other parents that I met were going through the same experiences. So when I got the first time in my life where I could put towards any kind of volunteer work, school board trustee came to my mind, because there were many parents out there like myself who didn't know these resources exist, that we could reach out and we could get help and make our lives and our kids' years, and also take our feedback to the board when the policies are being made, how we can make changes. I, as a parent, had to find out throughout the years. So I wanted to make sure that I become that voice, that other parents are out there who are looking for someone to take their feedback to the board. So if the changes are needed, then those changes can be done in a way that's easier for everybody. So that was my motivation and reason for running.
So you've mentioned one aspect of why diversity matters, and you said that people who come from other countries don't necessarily know how the school board work here. So if you were educated in Canada, you understand maybe how the school boards work, but we take it for granted that newcomers understand that system as well. So that is, I mean, just bringing that lens, I'm sure, is of value. Why else do you think it's important to have diverse voices at the school board table?
Oh, I look around myself, even in Guelph, in a mall, in a sports arena, and I see diversity. But when I look at organizations that are running, creating our future, I don't still see the diversity there. So that was a very clear reason when I walked into that school board office, I brought the diversity with me. So it's very important. My kids, everyone's kids, all different classes, all different diversification comes in different shapes, forms. We need to make sure that everyone feels a sense of belonging. And I think that can only be done if diversified people see themselves reflected in those organizations where the decisions are made, where changes are happening. So it is very important. It is very important to have the diversity and also people of all diverse backgrounds to come forward and make that happen. So it's very important for people like me and others around me like me who they should come forward and make it. Diversity is important. It will not be reflected in those organizations or places or boards if we don't make an effort to go forward and say, I can do this. I think I've got what it takes.
Well, you certainly showed during the campaign that you've got what it takes by taking out, by beating an incumbent. And so you mentioned that just bringing that diverse perspective, understanding what blind spots might be to the school board for people who aren't familiar with the system, being that bridge back to the community, and the representation in and of itself has a lot of value. So you've identified a lot of gaps that exist and that you're helping to fill. Another gap, I think, is that a lot of people don't realize that the municipal election is 3 elections at the same time, right? The mayor, council, and school board trustees. So I know you did a lot of education at the door. What was the most common question that you were getting about the role of the school board trustee?
The common question, I did almost 10,000 houses, not 10,000 houses, and spoke with people. And I think the most common question I realized I got was, why should I vote? My kids are already grown up. They've done their university. I don't need to vote for school board trustee. There's no reason. And I try to tell them, I said, there is a reason, because those kids who are in school are going to be our politicians tomorrow, are going to make our CPP, helping those funds that are going to help us as senior citizens to decide what our, pension might look like, what our benefits might, what would they look like. These are the kids that are going to become those responsible citizens. So it's very important that we make sure that the policies and procedures that we are instilling in our schools are, based on a collective voice, and that collective voice can only be at the table if the representatives that we send through these elections are the ones that we think are going to take our voice and take it to the table and help make the policies as per what people want, best for our students. So I try to explain to everyone that it is very important. Even though your kids are in universities or they have done school, you still pay taxes. Those taxes do go towards school board. It is our moral duty to still continue as much and to participate in the elections and in the election of school board trustee, because in many ways you are affected by by these elections.
Absolutely. So talking about representation matters, voting for the school board matters. And actually, I think people underestimate that the operating budget for the Upper Grand District School Board is just shy of a $500 million, right? 76 schools, there's a lot of infrastructure, there's a lot of policy happening there. And I know you did a great job of educating people at the door on why it matters, even if you don't have children in the school system. So here's the $1 million question. So then you got people engaged in why they should vote. So then how did you win? You had 8 people in your race for the Puslinch and Ward 6 trustee seat. It was a tough competition. How do you think you differentiated your campaign? How do you think you got people interested in what you were proposing?
Dominic, I simply came across as a person who was willing to work for people and become people's voice. And that's all I wanted. I just wanted parents' voice in the board. I wanted a representation of diversity in the board. All these things that honestly, all these years, I did not know that there was a school board trustee myself, and that during my kids' schooling that I could reach out to a school board trustee had I had any questions that couldn't get answers through principals or teachers. I didn't know myself. So, and there's lots and lots of people that I still know today that will reach out to me, and first thing I will do is tell them the process, the teachers, the principals, and then the trustee. And that's how we, So I simply went out, told people my goal, what I am hoping to do. And I just, I think I was just myself, a parent, trying to do something that that I really think that, lots of people out there that could do, but either they don't have the directions or they don't know how to. And I was lucky that I came across campaign schooling. I got very, very clear goals, directions, pathways. So I'm sure we'll come across that point, but yeah, the campaign school really helped me as well, directing me. That's my goal. I knew this is where I wanted to be, but how to be there, how to convey my message to people, whether it was door-to-door knocking, or it was gathering or reaching out people through social media. It was, and how to convey my message very clearly, what I wanted to put in words. It's very important, people. I don't come from a political background, so I have ideas. I have goals that I wanted to help, but how to help people, what is the platform, how to go to that platform, how to run for elections, how to connect with people. These were all these things that were taught to me through this campaigning school. And I honestly don't know what would I have done without it. So
it's certainly very daunting, right? When you don't know anything about how to run, and you ran a great campaign website, those hot pink signs that were, unmissable in the South End, lots of social media and a ton of door knocking. You just really put in the work to reach as many people as you could. So I'm wondering, clearly the campaign school helped you to make those plans, know what your messaging was. Did you experience any barriers during the campaign? And if so, how did you deal with those?
Dominic, I got really lucky. I have a great support system with me. As I said, it takes a village to run something like this. So I would want to acknowledge my family, friends who were with me. I couldn't have done 10,000 houses by myself. So I had a great support system with me all the time. The people that over the 25 years I have made friends with were all there to help out. As far as barriers, you know what, 1 in 1,000 person, if that person shut the door and said, I don't want to hear about it, that I would not consider a barrier. 999.9% people were very, very accepting. They're very open door policies. I was welcomed in Guelph, Puslinch, anywhere I went. They were very happy to listen to me. Whether or not voted for me is a different story. I was very happy that they were able to give me that 5 minutes, 10 minutes time to listen to me. And most of the people that I came across said to me just one thing, that you are the first school board trustee who has come to our door and knocked at the door. And so we will listen to you, because, we have never had anyone come and talk to us like this. So that was very encouraging for me, that people were willing to listen to me. And honestly, whether I consider myself lucky or I don't focus on things that I don't want to focus on, I only got positivity out of the whole entire process of campaigning.
Well, and that's really encouraging for people who think about a municipal run, or they think they might be interested, but it scares them to go knock on doors. To hear you say that by and large you were well received, and sometimes it happened to me too. Someone's not having a good day. This is not something of interest. You arrived and it's dinner time or bedtime, or right. They're, people are in their homes, they're in their own headspace. So thank you for saying that, once you get the hang of the door knocking, that people are often really happy that you went to speak with them. They're curious about what you are going to do. And obviously it worked, right? So
Yes.
Here you are, election night. So you had to wait till the next morning for confirmation, yes. Right? Yes. So very close election. You emerge victorious. So then what is the job, right? Because you can get really focused on the campaign and running, and then you start the job of trustee. Can you tell us a little bit, what is the job? What do you do as a trustee?
Yes, of course. Yes, it's totally, it's not what you think when you are running an election campaigning. You are just focusing on people's voice. You're focusing on, I want to take all this feedback, take it to the table and say, this is what parents want. This is what I hear from them. We need to focus on this. When you go into a board, it does do that, but it also comes with the piece of governance part attached to it. So, and that I had something that I had to learn. I have never done that part of, policy making and stuff like that. So it's a huge part of a school board trustee is the governance part, because you're not looking at just your area only. You are one of the 10 trustees. So it's a team effort. It is never, the decisions are never going to be just based on one part of the school board. The decisions that we made around the table affect 76 schools. So that is something that I needed to get my head clarity there, that the decisions that are going to be made are going to be for all 10 trustees together for the school board, and not for one area or two area or three areas. We will listen to all the feedback, and then based on the policy will be made based on the whole entire fabric of the school board, and not just. So that was something that I really needed to get hang of, that, how can I help my area still staying within that whole school board policies, and how can we make such policies that that help everybody. And so governance part is something that I was not ready for, which I needed to learn, and took me a year and a bit to kind of see how the process goes. And but it's not hard. It's just, if you want to make changes, that comes with it. So you learn that, but you still got to do all that that you're there for. So it is not something that's advertised out there when you're running for a school board trustee, that this comes with it. So I told the board as well, that we advertise a school board trustee position, we must write that governance part is a piece of it, that because people come in with a different intention, and the job entails is, yes, that plus a little bit more. So
sure. So everything you heard at the doorstep can inform the policies
Yes.
But there's governance rules, there's provincial legislation, there's other constraints, right?
Yeah.
Is what I hear you saying. So lots of people look at that and say, oh, I don't know anything about governance, or I don't know anything about infrastructure for building schools. And they, especially women, decide I can't run because I don't know those things. So can you tell me a little bit about, the kind of training that you received after you became a trustee, or how you learn those things? Because no one was born knowing this stuff, right?
Yes, I was as raw as you could say anyone could be. So I went there. You are put through a orientation for a few weeks. The school board does go step by step and train you, or kind of show you what they do and how things are done. And rest, it is practice. The more you do it, the more you learn. Over the next 3 to 6 months is your learning period, where you watch and see, because there are experienced trustees that are there and doing it. So you get to watch the process and see how how you can answer a question, how you can ask a question, when you can ask a question, how you can, how you can format your question so that it implies for everybody and not just, you only. So practice is what I would say, that, this is nothing to be scared of. It's nothing. You have ran a campaign, talked to all these people. You've come to this point. This is just the governance piece. It can be learned. It's not something that you can't do it. So it is something that comes with time. I am still learning after 3.5 years. So, but it's just, you get comfortable with it. You get comfortable not knowing some stuff, but it's okay not knowing, because what you are there for is what's keeping you there. So sometime you may not know how to separate emotion or something, and you always have help from your chair or co-chair or your co-trustees. They're always there to guide you, help you, that okay. I remember times that I would have questions. So before the meeting, I'll meet somebody, I'll say, I have a question. So when do I interrupt somebody to say that question, so that, it gets answered, but it also gets in the notes. I want to make sure that it's, registered in somewhere, that this question is being asked. So people will help you. That's that is how my experience have been, that they're always very helpful.
Right. So once you mastered the governance piece, and once you were more comfortable with the issues, what are some of the highlights of your term? What are you most proud of from your term as a school board trustee?
We collectively, we have done a lot of work. So my first thing is, if COVID didn't happen, we probably would have our high school up and running at the south end after 40 some years. This would have been the first school. So I'm hoping that soon the project will be done and we'll have our school up and running. We did a lot of work with our naloxone kits. We installed in each and every school so that our kids are out of danger of, opioid stuff, that was going on in our society, in our cities, Guelph and close by cities. So we want to make sure that help is there if such a case comes across. We did a lot of diversity work. Police presence in the school are a few of the highlights that we as a team were able to bring changes, and that all came from people. It was all feedback from people, from constituents, from parents, that was taken to the board table and changes were made. So those were the few things that I remember on top of my head that we were able to do.
Which is a lot, and COVID.
Yeah.
Right, managing through COVID.
Yes.
One of the arguably most difficult spaces to manage. So that's a lot.
How to. My favorite job throughout the whole 3.5 years was to go see kids in school. I love my school visits. We that was pre-COVID. I have not, done anything during COVID, but before COVID, I would love to go to schools, meet teachers, principal, see the process firsthand, see the kids. If I may share, I remember the first visit I did to was Puslinch public school, Aberfoyle public school, and this little kid, I think I went to kindergarten, this little kid came and grabbed my legs and gave me a big hug. And the teacher looked at me and he called me auntie, and teacher looked at me and she's like, you must know his mother. And I nodded yes, although I didn't know who this little kid was. But that I shared with the board, and I said, that is the sense of belonging. I was the only same colored person in the entire, I want to say in school at that point, that I went, and he literally went like that. And I go, that you could not, get a message across as clear as this here. So I said, this is why it is important for diverse population to come forward and step forward and say, I want to do this. And same effort should be done from the other side, that come on, we need diversity in our board, around this table, because we have that in our schools. We need to represent it here, within our organization. So that was something that would always stay with me.
That's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. So if someone is watching the video and they are thinking, well, maybe I would like to run for school board trustee, what is the advice that you would give them?
Please do follow your heart. There's nothing that you cannot do. Running a campaign is not hard. It is, if you put your mind to it, you have a great support system, you can do it. There is resources out there, such as campaign school. There's that's the only one that I had, so I don't know, there might be other ones out there, but this was one great resource and tool that I had in my pocket that helped me navigate through the whole process. But yes, do it, because it's needed. It's needed for you, for me, for everybody, for our society. It's needed that, especially being female, that come out and do this, because not only you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your kids, for this society. They're watching you. For me, it was important to do it, because I wanted my kids to know that you can do it and you should do it. This is almost, if nothing, it's like a volunteer work as well. You owe this to society. You owe this to Guelph, to school board, that we give back. And this is the best way that I could give back, being an immigrant who was well accepted, raised two beautiful daughters in the city of Guelph. What other way to give back to the system than to help?
Well, I want to thank you very much for your time today. You are such a generous person, both with your time and your expertise, and through your businesses as well. And you broke a really significant barrier, and the school board and the city are better for it. Thank you so much, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Dominique. I must say that I always learn from you. You have been my mentor from day one. Even before the elections, I looked up to you, and for advice and guidance, and each and every step of the way, you have always helped me, encouraged me, and sometimes even show me that I could do it, because I doubted myself. Times were that I was like, I don't know how I would answer that question. I don't know how I would tackle this issue. And you knew you would come forward and say, Jolly, you've done it here. You just need to relax, sit, and just, do what you're here for. So thank you so much, honestly, from deep down my heart, that if it wasn't for you or the campaign school and my family and friends, I wouldn't be here. And mostly all the people who voted for me. I would always say, I did not win. People put me here. So all the thanks goes to Guelph and Puslinch community who voted and chose and showed that, I could come here and do the job that I promised them that I would. So thank you.
So well said. That's the best last word. Thank you, Jolly.
Thank you.